Welcome back to another episode here on Everyday Therapy. We're glad to have you here, and we're going to be talking about the give skill today.
Ooh.
We're going to be very giving.
Is it true that we just talked about the fast skill?
Yes.
Because we are doing a series on interpersonal effectiveness, right?
That is correct. Thanks for the recap.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump right in.
Previously on Everyday Therapy.
So we are talking about, you're right, this unit within DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, on interpersonal effectiveness. So how do I get people kind of to like me? How do I maintain a relationship? How do I get what I want? Mm-hmm. And how do I practice my own sense of self-respect all at the same time?
Oof, that's a tall order.
It is a tall order, and we do feel like I've got to sacrifice one of those for the sake of the other two, if not sacrifice two of those for one. So last time we did talk about fast, which is maintaining my sense of self-respect.
Yep.
And I'd like to start with that one because a lot of times we don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. And we sort of cave and deny ourselves to fall to the other person.
Yep.
So that, I think, sets the groundwork for us to talk about how do I then maintain a relationship? Mm-hmm. If I'm maintaining my self-respect, I can also maintain this relationship with somebody at the same time. So in recap, the fast skill, again, is going to be being fair to yourself and other people. Because a lot of times we're not fair to ourselves.
We want to be fair only to other people.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the A stands for, ironically,
no apologies?
No apologies, yes.
Okay.
So we don't apologize for having thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires.
Or needs.
Needs, thank you. Mm-hmm. And then we stick to our values and we are truthful. We don't minimize what we want just for the sake of somebody else. And that's not selfish, it's self-care. So now, while we practice that, we also practice this, what's called in DBT, the give skill.
Nice.
So how do I maintain a relationship with somebody while I'm also maintaining my self-respect?
Ooh.
Yeah, because sometimes it can feel like, well, if I really say what I want, then you don't get what you want.
Oh, it definitely feels like that.
And
but really, it's an illusion.
It is, because it's not an either-or scenario. As we talked about at the beginning of dialectical behavioral therapy, dialectical means being able to hold together two things that don't seem to coexist.
Right.
And this is a great example.
It's a both and.
It's a both and, yes.
Okay.
It's a lot of us, it's kind of like, here's what I want, but I know this is what you want. And what do we call that?
Letting your butt hang out.
I can't believe you said that.
I knew that's what I was supposed to say.
Yes, so we don't want to let our butt hang out with that mentality. This is what I think I need, and I want to be invested in you at the same time. So, the give skill.
The give skill.
When the situation calls for us to prioritize relationships, and sometimes we need to prioritize the relationship, we use this skill. Okay.
Do you have any examples of that?
I knew you were going to ask.
Did you?
I did, because I don't have any. I can't think of any right now.
Like a coworker or someone that it's very important to you that the relationship be preserved and protected. So that's the first thing I can think of. It can be a
coworker. It can be any relationship, but it could be maybe perhaps when this person is really having a need of some sort.
Okay.
And you can also still set boundaries and say, hey, I know that's important to you. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm super tired. And I don't have the ability to give you what I need. So we were just talking about that. Yeah. How we need to really be aware that sometimes I don't have it in the tank. And so sometimes I have to prioritize that, and I can still kind of be giving towards somebody, and we'll talk more about that, but it's sort of just understanding the context. Like, what's the immediacy here? Like, maybe I need to prioritize, like, if it's my kid and they're really struggling and then they really want to open up about something and I really am tired, well, yeah, I probably need to be listening to my kiddo. And that's like when they're teenagers, that is the time they want to talk. It's always like after 11.
Right.
And you want to go right to bed, but you have this small window of opportunity, so you prioritize.
Yep.
So what do we do when we prioritize this?
Okay, I love it.
Well, we know communication has two parts to it, right? There's content and there's delivery. Those are the what and the how of communication. The how is just as important as even some would say more important of the what. So I grew up in a home where there was this saying, it's not what you said.
It's how you said it.
It's how you said it. And
good point.
We know that's so true, isn't it?
Yes.
So, and the give skill really focuses on that how we're talking, how we're interacting, because most of our communication is nonverbal, right?
Right.
So, and what we find is in that how, people are actually far more gracious if our delivery is effective. So
true.
If how I'm saying something, how I'm approaching something, my tone, etc., people are much more willing to be gracious in response. So this is what we talk about in DVT. So maybe you have your favorite meal presented to you.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have a favorite meal?
Oh my gosh. I love a good pot roast.
A good pot roast.
Pot roast.
Who likes a bad pot roast?
Not I.
Right? Yeah, right.
Not I.
Good pot, right? So you can almost smell it, right? You can see the steam rising. It's coming out on a plate.
Melts in your mouth.
Decorated alongside that on the edge of the plate is a plate
carrots and potatoes.
No, I want you to picture
this. Is part of the, okay.
It's filled with maggots.
Nope.
Not going to do it?
No, thank you.
But it's your favorite. It's pot roast.
But there's maggots.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Hold the maggots.
Yeah. So hold the maggots, right? So now, even if the plate of maggots were replaced with a new plate, of your favorite meal, you might be a little bit reluctant still.
What about those maggots?
Right. And why is that? Because of your history.
Okay.
So now notice many of us grow up in homes where we have a history that is kind of hard. How things were communicated were really difficult for us.
Yeah.
And so people might be totally different from our family of origin later on in life, but how they present something might take us right back to when we were growing up. And so it really underscores that how we do things, how we say things is super, super important. So that leads us into the first part of the give skill. How we want to be with people is we want to be gentle.
Okay.
What in the world does that mean to be gentle? What do you think?
Well, I'm assuming that you are not attacking, right?
Okay. Yeah, but think of the word gentle just in general.
Just
not
in general.
Terms of relationships.
Okay.
What does gentle mean, do you
just
think?
kind of maybe you're speaking softly. You're not raising your voice. You're just kind of with a light touch.
A light touch, right.
A light touch.
Yes, and why might that be? Why might you need to be gentle?
Well, you don't want to alarm the other person. And you're being cautious. You're being cautious and mindful of things.
Yes, and that's how we need to be with people. A lot of times is gentle. Now, a lot of times we also believe gentle is like a sign of weakness. And if you think about it, gentle is actually strength. Because if you give like a little baby chick to a kid, the kid could squash the little chick in his hand. So you say, hey, be gentle. Gentle. And then you're kind of coaxing the kid, no, gentle, right?
It does take a lot of focus, though, to make sure you're gentle, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Because a little kid holding a little baby chick, they have to focus pretty hard to, not make a mistake.
It would not take much, even for a little child.
Right.
If the child wasn't gentle, to do some serious damage to that chick. Now, the interesting thing is, I wish you've seen those boxes that say, it's got stamped on the outside, gentle, handle with care.
Yes.
I wish people had that on ourselves, too.
Oh, yeah.
Gentle, handle with care.
True.
Even for the biggest, toughest, roughest exterior people, we still need to be gentle. And a lot of times that rough exterior is there because they're trying to protect something inside them that is delicate.
Yep.
And so we want to be gentle with each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. I know with me, there have been times I have not been gentle.
Sure.
And I felt justified
Yes, usually it's that feeling of like, I have a good reason here.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't need to be gentle because I've been pretty
offended,
mad. Yeah.
Or like you did something really bad and I have every right. And you know what I find? I call it laying down the law.
Exactly.
When I lay down the law because someone's really ticked me off or they've done something bad.
Yeah.
I always feel so right and so justified in laying down the law.
Right.
And it feels so good to lay down the law like in the moment.
Yep.
And so I lay down the law and I'm like, yes. And then I tend to regret it later.
Right.
I mean, do you have that?
Totally. In the moment, it's like, yeah, I did it.
Yes.
And then later you're like, did I have to be, maybe I could have been more soft with that.
Absolutely. Anytime, 100% of the time I have felt justified to lay down the law, 100% of the time I've regretted it later, at least to some degree.
To some degree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what we're saying, though, is that people are a lot more likely to respond positively to gentleness than to harshness.
Yeah. That
Even
makes
when we
sense.
think someone deserves that harshness.
Yep.
It's just not effective.
Right. Okay. So far, so good.
So we want to be gentle with people, right? Mm-hmm. And we want to. One of the ways we can be gentle, and we've talked about this, is we don't want to should on people. We want to be very careful with shoulds. Only if it's a truly moral issue where somebody has violated a true moral issue.
Yeah.
That's when a should is appropriate, because shoulds kind of produce a shame then, and that gives me some impetus to make amends or, I need to apologize or change. Mm-hmm. Most often, shoulds are not used in moral categories.
Right.
And so that is really not being gentle with people. So we want to avoid that. And we also want to recognize, I think this is really important, everyone has the right to say no.
Okay.
And we need to accept that. Part of being gentle is respecting other people's boundaries, especially when I don't like their boundaries, especially when I disagree and I think their boundaries are bogus and I really want to react to it.
Yep.
That's not gentle. Even when I feel like their boundaries are wrong.
Right.
Like somebody says, hey, I can't make it this weekend. The people that are safest respect those boundaries. And so we can say no, and to be gentle to hearing that is to say, okay, yeah. And someone can be disappointed and at the same time be like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
You do you. It's okay.
Yep.
I respect that. And we don't have to ask people for reasons. We don't have to pepper them. Well, how come you don't want to come? Why don't you want to do this? Well, why? Tell me why. And so we're not being gentle. We just need to be able to accept that and say, okay, all right. And even if we don't like it.
Yep.
So that is the G in the give skill, being gentle.
Nice.
Now, the I stands for interested. Okay. We want to show interest and be interested in people. Why do you think this is so hard for us today?
To be interested in people?
Yeah.
We have kind of an instant gratification culture. We're easily distracted. We're on to the next thing really quickly. So I think, those are the first things.
Absolutely. We are so easily distracted, and mostly by our phones, right?
Yes.
So if people have their phones and we're talking to them and they're on their phone and they're checking something on their phone while we're talking to them.
Right.
We're out to eat with somebody, they get their phone on the table, and they're checking it.
Brett, just a second, I'm getting a text.
Yes, right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Right. And I do it too. And sometimes we do it we're totally unaware that we're doing this.
Definitely.
But it sends a message. All behavior is communication.
Yep.
You and I are both licensed marriage family therapists, so we firmly believe all behavior is a form of communication. So when we are not showing interest by being on our phones or being distracted with something else, or we're just kind of looking through somebody, or you can tell
glazed
people
over.
aren't responding. Yep. That's communication, and it's communicating, or it's actually, I don't know what it's communicating, but it's easily understood or inferred as you are not interested.
Yep.
You know what I find really interesting, humorous and really tragic?
Okay.
Is that people will be together talking to one another and they're really just talking to themselves because the other person has no interest.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of in this one-up kind of conversation.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to grad school and I got a 3.5 grade point average in grad school.
Yeah.
And the person responds, "Oh yeah, I remember grad school. It was really hard. I got like a 3.6, but I remember it was really hard, and I was working. Oh, I remember I was working too. I worked at a hospital. And the funny thing is, you have two people in close proximity talking to one another, and they're talking to themselves because the other really isn't listening,
right?
And the other isn't showing any interest at all.
Right.
The only interest they have is in wanting you to hear them.
Yep.
And neither is listening to the other.
Right.
I see this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you see it, and it's really sad.
Mm-hmm. That was the first thing I thought is it makes me sad.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And a lot of times you see it because we're so focused on getting this other person to like me or to respect me that I'm not showing interest in this person at all.
Exactly. This is a great skill.
It is a great skill. And the funny thing is it doesn't come naturally to us.
Right.
So if we can do this, people will like us too. Mm-hmm. They really will. Mm-hmm. I've gone to parties where I don't know people. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went once where my wife knew everybody. Mm-hmm. And she went and worked the crowd and said hi. And I just sat in a corner and talked to people. And people would kind of come and go. And she came up to me later and she's like, "Oh, wow, everybody thinks you're so cool and so awesome."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yeah, like, what are you telling everybody?" I said, "I'm just saying back to them exactly what they said."
Yes. Oh, my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, and people had no idea, but they love to hear their own thoughts being reflected back to them. Yes. And they thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was showing interest, but I was also doing a little psychological experiment.
Were you?
Oh, yeah, just to see, the effect. And it was positive. And so the funny thing is we want people to like us. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of present our resume and say, "Hey, look what I did.
Exactly.
See if you like me." And what people are saying is, "No, I want you to be interested in what I did. And if you show interest, now I really hold you in high regard." Mm-hmm. So if we want to maintain a relationship, we need to be gentle with people. We need to understand everybody's vulnerable, and we don't know what people are coming into our lives with. There can be a ton of pain, a ton of stress, a ton of trauma.
Yep.
And we have no idea because people can be laughing and look great on the outside, and we forget, I still need to be gentle here.
Yep.
And how I approach things.
Yep.
And we also want to show interest with people. And say, "Hey, what's going on with you? Tell me more." I've heard this. There's 2 ways to walk into a room.
Okay.
One way to walk in is to say, kind of, "I'm here." And another way, I love this, another way to walk into a room is to say, "Oh, there you are." Mm. And I try to remember that when I go into a room, and especially if I go into the waiting room at my clinic to pick up a client, I want to be able to always go in and say, in my heart and in my head, "Oh, there you are. There you are."
I love that.
I don't want to go in like, "Here I am."
God's gift to man.
Like I need some bumper music or something.
Right,
Here I am. And I think a lot of times that's how we go into rooms. That's how we go into relationships, as opposed to, "Oh, there you are." Mm-hmm. So that takes us to V.
Okay. We have G-I-V.
Yes.
Okay.
As in validate.
Ooh.
That's what we want to do. Ooh, love that word.
Love that word.
Superpower. We did a podcast on this, and it is a superpower. So
yes,
it might be overstating it, but only slightly.
Mm-hmm. That it's a superpower?
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
I feel so good when I am validated. I get a good response from others if I'm validating.
Right.
It's just a good way to go.
It is. Yeah, it really is. And I think we don't know what it means, though. Mm-hmm. So let's unpack that just a little bit. I encourage people to go back to our podcast. I don't know what number it is, but go back to the podcast where we talked about validation as a superpower, because it really is. If you can have the ability or have the power to change how people feel or to lower their emotional intensity, validation can do that. And it's very powerful. So
Yep.
what is validation? It's really acknowledging another person's reality.
Yep.
Now, the difficulty we have with it is doesn't mean we're approving of the other person's reality. We're not approving what they did or what they said or how they feel.
Okay, that's a good distinction. We're acknowledging, not necessarily approving.
Right.
Okay.
So we're acknowledging their reality. And so I don't have to even agree with it. This is where parents, I think, get hung up a lot.
I bet.
'Cause they're-
am I supposed to just go along with whatever they're doing or whatever they did and say that's okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Or if they're mad at the parents, I hate you. You know, we can sort of respond to that as parents and feel like now I need to correct them.
Right. I can't validate that.
Can't validate that, right?
Right.
And actually we can.
Okay.
Because when we say validate, it doesn't mean I approve of what you just said to me.
Ah.
Just mean I acknowledge that this is your reality. I acknowledge that right now, that's how you feel.
What would be a statement to validate? Like if I am a teen and I'm like, I hate you, what would be a statement to validate that?
I'm sure you do. Or you can say, yeah, that makes sense. And even to me as a parent, if it doesn't make sense, it makes sense
To them.
Yeah. I mean, they're not saying it just kind of to shout out nonsense gibberish. They mean that.
Right. There's some reason why they're saying that.
Right.
Right.
So any kind of negative feedback we get from people really isn't even about me anyway. It's about them.
Sure.
And so we can acknowledge it and say, yep, that's what's going on for you.
Okay.
We can also say, boy, I hate that for you. I love that phrase.
I hate that for you.
Or that must be really tough.
That sounds tough. It must be really, really difficult.
So those are really validating things. And all we're doing is acknowledging what's going on for the other person. We don't have to like it. We don't have to approve of it. We could vehemently disagree with it and still validate it.
Wow. So
we want to validate other people's problems, their feelings, their desires, their opinions, and we want to be non-judgmental. And there's the S word again, the should word, that we sort of respond. A lot of times if we don't agree with their thoughts and feelings and desires, their opinions, we should on them and say, well, you shouldn't think that way. Can you imagine if our political discourse in our country today used validation and we led with validation?
Oh, my goodness. It would be a whole different world.
So if you believed in one political party and espoused their platform, to first respond with, okay, well, yeah, it makes sense that you believe that.
Right?
We don't.
No, we don't at all.
We don't validate, we vilify.
Yeah.
And that's often our immediate response. We vilify somebody else because we don't agree with their opinion. And we make it an all or nothing scenario. And we talked a lot about that. That's the opposite of being dialectical.
Yep.
And now my emotion goes up. They get defensive.
Oof.
And we have a problem, which is indicative of our culture today.
Right, right. Well, and if you're escalating and getting upset, the likelihood of having good communication is lowered, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. And this isn't just in political, but I mean, this is in boardrooms to family rooms to offices, everywhere we go.
Right.
We can validate and always lead with validation.
Totally.
So that's in a kind of a Reader's Digest version of validate. There's so much more we could say on that, which we have said. So please go to our other podcast on validation as a superpower.
Yep.
And that leads to the last one, which is easy manner. Ooh. Now, I want to have an easy manner talking about this, but I have no idea. How much time do we have left?
We're at 24 minutes.
All right, so we got 6 minutes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Hey,
does that help us have an easy manner?
We can I can be totally chill. We got plenty of time.
I love this. This might be my favorite letter of this skill.
Really?
Because I love...
first, what does the E stand for?
Easy manner.
Easy manner.
Use an easy manner. So, I love to use humor.
You do, and you're good at it.
Well, thank you. And I love to be lighthearted.
Yes.
It's because, again, it's like kind of that, it's a way of being gentle, I feel like. Is to be lighthearted, to be, to just be kind of easygoing, kind of relaxed, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. What I find, and I've done trainings on how to de-escalate, really intense situations.
Ooh, I like that.
This is a huge part of de-escalating people.
Yep.
Now, when we think of de-escalating people, we might think of like at a crime scene or a police scene or something like that, and you got some criminal behavior going on. But this applies in workplace again, at home, wherever we are. People get easily dysregulated, and one of the best ways to help other people calm down is to have a non-anxious presence, or to have an easy manner. So maybe we should talk what that looks like then. When you think of an easy manner, what does that look like in your mind?
Let's see. I would say it has to do with body language.
Yes.
Right? So smiling, being relaxed in your posture, maybe not having your arms folded. And not having kind of a stern look on your face.
Right.
I think that's what I first think of.
Yeah, I do too. Body language, because it does work. All behavior is communication. So my body language is behavior. If my arms are crossed, if I'm sort of leaning back away from you, if my eyes are, furrowed brow or whatever, I'm communicating.
Yep.
And so I want to be careful about that. I want to communicate. It's all good. It's okay. Everything's cool. It's all chill.
Yep.
And so we want to be careful with that. We want to try to get ourselves relaxed.
Yes.
So how do I get myself to relax, do you think? So that I have this easy manner about me, because you might be giving me some negative feedback.
Oh, that's true.
That's true. Now I'm tense. I'm angry. I'm getting defensive, and I might unknowingly kind of have this body posturing that is defensive, or looking like I'm ready to go on the offensive. How do I get into an easy manner then?
I think there's different ways to do it. You could take a break, take a short walk. You could do some breathing exercises.
Right. Yeah.
I think practicing awareness, present moment awareness, is helpful. What about you?
Yeah, I think breathing, is probably the
biggest one.
The biggest one, because it is just mostly physiological.
You can just do it sitting right there.
We can do it anywhere, and it has a physiological effect where our body can calm down. Sometimes we just can't get away. And I'm like,
exactly.
Great. Now
can't always take a break.
Yeah, and so we can do some deep breathing through our by our diaphragm, through our nose, inhaling and then exhaling through our mouth, and that really helps us. And then sometimes it's our tone.
Yep.
It's noticing our tone. And if I'm angry, I'm going to be talking a lot faster. I'm going to be talking a lot louder. If I'm really upset about something, and then I want to intentionally slow down.
Yep.
As I'm taking some breaths, just be aware of that. Now, what's really hard is when someone says to me, like, Brett, you need to relax.
Or when people are like, calm down.
Calm down. Right. Now, easy manner can easily go out the window really quickly.
That's not the easy manner.
And it's not effective to let that happen. So I need to be aware, take some breaths, intentionally slow down how I'm speaking to people, right?
Yes.
And it is really interesting that it has an effect. That non-anxious presence has an effect on other people.
Right.
So think of somebody that's just really chill. Can you think of anybody who's Yeah. And so you think of them, and what do you think of when you think of them?
That they're just kind of laid back.
Yeah. And you're smiling as you're saying that.
Because I'm thinking about my brother-in-law.
Yes.
And he's just like, when he comes in a room, he's just like relaxed. He doesn't say anything right away. He's just, it's like he's not reactive.
Right.
He just kind of is like, takes it all in for a bit.
And would you want to be around him if you were really stressed?
Yes. Absolutely yes. Yep.
My oldest son, Zach, is that way too. He doesn't get real high, he doesn't get real low.
Yeah.
And I've experienced from him growing up. I remember one time I got really angry.
You?
Oh yeah. It was.
I don't believe it.
We were pulling out to go on a trip, and I'm trying to get everybody in the van, and we're trying to head out before this ice storm is coming, and I'm over functioning, trying to make everything perfect for everybody.
Sure.
I forgot the back door of the van was like still half in the garage, and we pull out, and we hear this god awful crash, and there is like glass all over the suitcases everywhere, and I'd like to say I can't remember what I said, but
you do.
Everybody remembers what Dad said at that moment. And I instantly felt just terrible, about this. And I will, to my dying day, I'll never forget. I was so upset. And my oldest son, Zach, just said, Dad, it's going to be okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just totally cool. And he just had this easy manner in the midst of where I was like unglued because I just ruined this for the family. Now we're not going to be able to go.
Yeah.
And now we laugh about it. It's pretty funny.
Good.
And it's good to be able to laugh.
Yeah.
And but you notice how we were drawn to that, and we're drawn to it because that's what we need when we're escalated. And so when we want to maintain a relationship, we think of those people and we want to be like that with other people.
Yep.
We want to have an easy manner so that it has a calming effect on them. Mm-hmm. And that's a great way to maintain a relationship.
I love it.
And that rounds off the give skill.
Wow. That's perfect because we're at 31 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Well, great.
And you know what? We're doing our best.
We're doing the best we can.
That's one of our DBT assumptions.
Yes.
We're doing our best. And we can do better.
We can do better.
Always.
Right. And we'll keep trying to do that.
Yes.
And we hope that for all of you, you're able to embody more and more of these things. We continue to work on it. And every day can be therapy. And every day can be a way to get more free and feel more empowered to become the best version of yourself.
I love it.
Thank you as always for listening, and please be sure to leave us a review. While this podcast can't be a replacement for therapy, we hope you enjoyed our discussion today and join us again next time. Nystrom & Associates is always available to those who are struggling. If you find yourself in need of support and help, please check us out at nystromcounseling.com.